Clara and the Glowing Stone. Clara was a curious, adventurous girl with a love for exploring the forests near her village. She had often wandered through the trees, discovering new places and imagining stories about the animals and plants she encountered. One sunny afternoon, while exploring deeper into the woods than usual, Clara stumbled upon something unusual, an odd, small stone nestled in the grass. It was no bigger than the palm of her hand, but it had a peculiar glow to it. The stone shimmered faintly, as if it held a secret. Intrigued, Clara picked it up, and as soon as her fingers touched the smooth surface, the glow grew stronger, lighting up her surroundings like a small lantern in the dark. Curious, Clara held the stone closely, wondering what magic lay within it. As she inspected it further, she noticed something strange. The glow seemed to brighten whenever she smiled, and dimmed when she frowned. "That's odd," she muttered to herself. But before she could figure it out, she heard a rustle in the bushes. The stone dimmed instantly as Clara's attention was distracted by the sound. She decided to keep the stone, hoping to learn more about it later. Over the next few days, Clara began carrying the glowing stone with her wherever she went. She noticed that whenever she helped someone or did a good deed, the stone's glow seemed to brighten even more. One morning, she came across a bird trapped in a net. Without thinking, she gently freed the bird and watched it fly away with a happy chirp. To her surprise, the stone grew brighter in her hand as she watched the bird fly off into the sky. Clara was fascinated. The stone's glow seemed to be connected to her actions. But why? That night, she tried an experiment. She helped her mother clean the house and did some extra chores without being asked. Sure enough, the stone glowed brightly in the moonlight, almost as if it was glowing with joy, too. But Clara didn't fully understand how the stone worked, so she decided to pay close attention to it in the coming days. One afternoon, Clara found herself playing with her friends when a disagreement broke out. They had been arguing over which game to play, and Clara's temper flared. Her cheeks flushed with frustration, and she shouted at her friends. "Why can't you understand? I just want to play the game I like," she snapped. As the words left her mouth, the stone in her pocket suddenly grew dim. Clara noticed this, but was too upset to care at first. She stormed off, her thoughts clouded with anger. The stone, now dull, was a reminder of how her mood affected it. Later, when Clara calmed down and returned to her friends, she felt guilty for yelling. She apologized and, as she did, the stone's glow began to brighten again, this time shining warmly in her hand. After the incident with her friends, Clara spent a lot of time thinking about the stone and its strange connection to her emotions. It seemed that whenever she acted kindly or selflessly, the stone became brighter. And whenever she was angry or selfish, it dimmed. One day, while walking through the village, Clara spotted a small boy sitting alone near the edge of the river, looking forlorn. His shoes were worn and tattered, and he seemed lost in thought. Clara approached him, kneeling down to ask if he was okay. The boy looked up, his eyes wide and sad. "I lost my way home," he said quietly, "and I have nothing to eat." Without hesitation, Clara took the boy's hand and led him back to the village. She gave him some of the food she had brought with her and promised to help him find his family. As they walked, the stone in her hand grew brighter and brighter, illuminating the path ahead like a beacon. By the time they found the boy's family, the stone was glowing so brightly that Clara felt like it was filled with warmth and love. The boy's family was overjoyed, and Clara was too, knowing that her good deed had made a difference. She realized that the stone wasn't just glowing because of her actions, it was also responding to the warmth in her heart. One evening, Clara's curiosity led her to explore a part of the forest she had never visited before. As she ventured deeper into the woods, the trees grew thicker, and the sunlight began to fade. A chill ran through the air, and the stone in her hand grew dimmer with each step. Clara's heart began to race, and for a moment, she felt a sense of unease. The forest was eerily quiet, and she wondered if she should turn back. But as she looked around, her gaze fell upon a small creature, a rabbit trapped in a thorn bush. Without hesitation, Clara knelt down and carefully freed the rabbit. As she did, the stone in her hand began to glow again, this time brighter than ever before, lighting up the dark forest. Clara smiled, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. The stone had helped her realize that even in the darkest places, a kind act could bring light. One afternoon, Clara's younger brother, Theo, came running into the house, excited to show her a new toy he had gotten. Clara was in the middle of something important, and without thinking, she snapped at him. "Not now, Theo. Can't you see I'm busy?" she said impatiently. Theo, hurt, left the room without saying another word. Clara immediately felt a pang of guilt, but she didn't know how to make it right. The stone in her hand, which had been glowing brightly earlier, now dimmed to a faint glow. Later that evening, Clara found Theo sitting quietly in his room, staring out the window. She sat next to him and apologized for being so rude. As she spoke, the stone in her hand began to glow once again, this time with a soft, warm light. Theo smiled and hugged her. Clara realized that the stone wasn't just a reflection of her good deeds, it was a reminder to be mindful of how her actions affected others. One day, Clara heard about a girl from a neighboring village named Lily, who had fallen ill and lost all hope. Her family had tried everything they could, but nothing seemed to work. Clara, feeling a deep sense of compassion, decided to visit Lily and see if she could help. When Clara arrived at Lily's house, she found the young girl lying in bed, pale and weak. The room was filled with sadness, and Lily's parents were visibly worried. Clara sat beside Lily and began talking to her about the things she loved, sharing stories and making her laugh. As Clara spoke, she felt the stone in her hand begin to grow warmer and brighter, its light filling the room. Lily, whose face had been pale and sad, slowly began to smile, and her parents watched in awe as hope returned to their daughter's eyes. By the end of the visit, the stone had grown so bright that it seemed to shine like the sun. Clara knew that the light from the stone was not just physical, it was the light of hope, and it was spreading to everyone in the room. After Clara helped Lily, the young girl began to recover, and her light returned to the family home. Clara's heart was full of joy, knowing that the stone's glow was not only from her good deeds, but also from the light she helped others find within themselves. But as time passed, Clara faced moments that tested her spirit. One such moment came when Clara's best friend, Maria, accidentally broke Clara's beloved necklace. It was a gift from her grandmother, a precious memory that Clara held dear. When she saw the broken pieces, a sharp pang of anger welled up inside her. Maria stood in front of Clara, her hands trembling in guilt. "I'm so sorry, Clara. I didn't mean to break it." For a moment, Clara's chest tightened, and she felt the initial sting of anger. But as her fingers brushed the glowing stone in her pocket, she remembered what it had taught her. The stone had never failed to show her the way forward, even in the darkest times. Clara took a deep breath. The anger still simmered inside her, but she focused on the warmth of the stone and allowed it to guide her emotions. "Maria," she said softly, "I know you didn't mean to. It's just a thing, and things can be replaced." Maria looked at Clara with wide eyes, relief flooding her face as Clara's forgiveness flowed through her words. The stone in Clara's hand began to glow brighter, a soft light filling the room. Maria smiled, and Clara felt her heart lighten, knowing that forgiveness was not just a gift to Maria, it was also a gift to herself. Clara realized that holding on to anger was like carrying a heavy weight. Forgiving Maria not only healed their bond but also lightened Clara's heart, making her feel more connected to the warmth of the glowing stone. "Thank you, Clara," Maria whispered, hugging her friend tightly. "Thank you for helping me learn to let go," Clara replied, her voice full of gratitude. The seasons changed, and Clara grew older, becoming a woman known for her wisdom and her ability to bring light to those who felt lost. But despite the passing years, Clara always carried the glowing stone, its light never dimming. It was no longer just a source of power for her, it was a reminder of everything she had learned and everything she wanted to continue sharing with the world. One winter, Clara was called upon to help a village that had been struck by a terrible storm. The villagers were struggling without enough food, and many had fallen ill. As Clara arrived, she found that the village was heavy with sadness and hopelessness. The storm had destroyed homes, and the people didn't know where to turn. Clara could feel the stone growing warm in her pocket. She had faced hardships before, but this felt different. The villagers' despair weighed on her heart, and she knew that she couldn't fix everything alone. But as she walked through the village, offering food and medicine, she smiled at the people, sharing stories of brighter days. Gradually, Clara felt the warmth of the stone's light grow stronger, just as the villagers began to smile in return. Clara knew that her actions were not just about what she could do for them, it was about helping them believe in the power of kindness and hope. As she gathered the villagers together, Clara spoke softly. "Sometimes, life gives us challenges, but it's in how we respond that defines us. We have the power to choose our actions. And kindness, even in small moments, can change everything." The stone glowed brighter than ever before, filling the village with light. Clara could see the shift in the villagers, their spirits lifted, their hope returned. She had shown them that even in the darkest of times, Light could be found through love and compassion. As Clara left the village, she knew that the stone's glow had always been more than just a reflection of her actions. It was a manifestation of the goodness in her heart, and the goodness she helped others find in themselves. Years passed, and Clara became a respected elder, known far and wide for her wisdom, kindness, and the glowing stone that never dimmed. She had helped many people, guided them through their struggles, and shown them the power of compassion. But Clara also knew that the true light came from within, and it was the kindness and love we shared that kept the world shining brightly. One day, a young girl named Maya came to Clara, seeking guidance. Maya had heard stories about Clara's magical stone and wanted to know the secret to living a good life. Clara smiled and took the glowing stone from her pocket. It had dimmed a little over time, but it still held its gentle warmth. She placed it in Maya's hand and said, "This stone may glow when you are kind, and it may fade when you are selfish. But the true magic is not in the stone. It is in you. The light you give to the world comes from the heart, and that light will guide you through any darkness." Maya gazed at the stone, her eyes wide with wonder. "What if I make mistakes?" she asked. Clara gently shook her head. "We all make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from them and choose kindness every time we can. The more kindness you show, the brighter your light will shine." Maya smiled, clutching the stone tightly in her hand. "I will, Clara. I promise." Clara felt a deep sense of peace as she looked at the girl. She knew that the legacy of the glowing stone would live on through Maya and others like her. It wasn't about the stone, it was about the hearts it touched. As Clara watched Maya walk away, she felt a warmth in her chest. The stone may have been passed on, but the light of kindness and compassion would continue to spread through generations. Clara had taught others to be the light in the world, and that light would never fade. The stone might have started as a simple guide, but now it symbolized something much deeper, the eternal power of kindness, hope, and the belief that we all have the ability to make the world brighter. And so, Clara's story became a legend, one of love, hope, and the understanding that even in the darkest moments, we have the power to shine.